Even if you already think that sleep is important, it's probably even more important than you already think it is. Because if you can get consistently good night's sleep, it massively improves your chances of doing consistently a good day's work. And that's because, along with almost every other creature on Earth, we are built to exist in a world where there is day and night. And that means our bodies and brains will need a period of good recovery once every 24 hours in a continuous cycle. The only way that's ever going to stop is if we suddenly find ourselves in a body that's not designed to live on Earth. And the likelihood of that happening to you, hearing this, is so marginally small, it's not worth considering. You're a human being, and therefore you have a human body that's designed to live on planet Earth. And so if you try and fight that by staying up late, leaving the lights on, burning the wick at both ends, doing too much work without the requisite rest that comes with it, all you are doing is making things unnecessarily hard for yourself and actively making all the work you do worse than it would have been if you actually just got some sleep. Now, why am I talking about this today? The truth is, I didn't sleep very well last night. My little boy was sick. He was screaming. That woke me up, and I had to comfort him. Obviously, that comes first before my own good night's sleep. I'm not going to sacrifice looking after my child for the sake of more productivity during the day because I had a good night's sleep. And this is the thing that a lot of people miss when they're talking about sleep. The average person isn't missing out on sleep because they don't think it's important. Most people lose out on sleep because there's things that they have to do that prevent them from getting a good night's sleep. Like looking after kids, like working late at night, like traveling from place to place where there's different time zones maybe. And so it's all very well going, you should get a good night's sleep, or you should improve your sleep hygiene. Make sure it's nice and dark. Don't look at screens before bedtime. We already know these things are important. But often the problem is we have other things that we think are even more important than that. And in a lot of cases, that's totally true. And you can't escape that. You just have to have a few nights where you have a bad night's sleep. But that doesn't mean that every single night you can get away with using the excuse of your other priorities for getting poor sleep. A good night's sleep doesn't come from just lying down in bed and being like, oh, I should really sleep now, it's so important. A good night's sleep comes from having a good understanding of what's really important to you and being able to say that there are some things you just can't do, or there are some things that need to fall down your priority list in order for you to be able to concentrate on the few things that you really need to do, so you can double down and really concentrate on those things, leaving you enough space in your life for adequate sleep so that you can do good work during the day on those specific things. Sorry if this is coming out as more of a ramble than usual. Like I said, I didn't get much sleep last night. So what does this mean practically? It means looking at your calendar and figuring out what are your obligations. What are the things that other people put into your diary that force you to be at a place doing a thing that you can't decide to move or cancel if you're feeling like you're just too tired and you want to get to sleep. For most people, their 9-to-5 job is that thing. If you decided one day that you were just going to not show up to work because you needed to have a lie-in and catch up on sleep, there would be some pretty strong negative consequences to that. And so you're obliged to go to your job. So that counts as an obligation. Same thing if you have kids. The kid's got to get dropped off at school, or the kid's got to go to this particular group on a Saturday morning. You can't decide that school's going to happen at a different time. So as far as you're concerned, that's an obligation that you have to accommodate, and you can't just decide to sleep instead. Figure out what those things are, because it's likely that you're treating a bunch of things as obligations when actually you're in full control of whether you decide to just sack it off and go to sleep instead. Some examples of this are social events. You don't have to show up to every social event going just because somebody's invited you. Being too tired and having too much on and too many other obligations is a perfectly valid reason for saying, no, you're not going to go to that thing. because you're not obliged to go. Sleep is more important than keeping up appearances. And there are a lot of other things like this that start to become really obvious once you actually sit down and figure out what are you doing with your days that are preventing you from getting enough rest to match the amount of good work you want to do. So my point is that good sleep doesn't come primarily from having the perfect sleep hygiene conditions, the perfect supplements for sleep, the exact right mattress, or making sure you're going to bed at a particular time to get the right number of sleep cycles. It's actually much more to do with what you think is important and whether you're trying to treat too many things in your life as equally important when they're actually not. And sometimes that might mean that you get a bad night's sleep because you think looking after your sick child is more important. And that is absolutely fine, as long as that was a decision that you made about what you think is important, and not a TV show that you decided to watch late into the middle of the night, or you were just scrolling on your phone looking at dumb videos when you know for a fact that sleep is way more important than that. And remember, the answer to every question is to stop asking questions until you start doing things in the real world. And when you actually watch what you do with your day and have a think about whether what you're doing is really important or whether you're just wasting time on things that you would rather not be doing, given the choice, you can start to reflect and assess whether you're using your time well, given that you have a human body and you have a limited amount of energy available to you each day, and you have to get a certain amount of recovery to match that work you're doing. So you can't just keep going on forever and trying to do every single thing. Choose what you're going to do it really, really well, and make sure you sleep enough to be able to do it at your best. And if you come up with any questions as you try and do that, please send them my way and I'll answer them in a post like this. See ya!